No, we're ready.
But welcome.
Yeah,
It's two, so I'll go ahead and get started. Call this meeting of the Regional Commission to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I assume we have a quorum. Looks like a good crowd. To welcome appointed commissioners Rick Heflin, Vice Mayor from Remington. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Chris Snyder, Town of Orange. And Cardi unfortunately was not available to join us today, but he's joining us from Madison. Let's see, approval of the agenda, please. Are there any changes to the agenda that was distributed?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Public comment? Okay. Presentation and special recognition, Lisa is.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ms. Peacock from Culpeper Human Services was meant to be here, but had a family emergency come up late yesterday. I do have some information that I'll share, but I told the chair it probably would fit better with director's report on the warming shelter and the filming time. My apologies for Lisa, and she sends her regards as well.
I don't think you have any control over them. All right, 3 items on the consent agenda. Anything anyone would like to pull off of that? If not, entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Excuse me. Rolling right along, executive director's report.
Yeah, this will be longer than I anticipated, but there's a lot of good stuff to share with you all for that we've been up to for the last since the December meetings. A couple of things that I want to highlight specifically and actually maybe I'll start with the point in time count and the report that Lisa, some of the information Lisa Peacock would have shared. So on January 28th, that was the official point in time count for Foothills Housing Network. If you recall, we're the lead agency, and our staff, Rebecca Wareham and Matt Tobias, worked with a lot of your departments of social services in each of your counties, a lot of our partner nonprofit housing providers across the region, in doing that outreach and connecting and then conducting assessments and surveys with the local homeless population. We've got sort of preliminary numbers, and I really do caution that not official and are still, still going through some of the reporting, but the number we have that meet the HUD definition of homelessness on January 28th was 219, 228, because we had a few more come in. 228 of those, 145 were adults and 83 were children. The majority of those are sheltered either in a Piedmont warming shelter, family shelter in Warrenton, Culpeper Housing and Shelter Services, the Culpeper shelter here, as well as transitional housing, which is also operated by Family Shelter Services and Fauquier and Community Touch as well. Those numbers are higher than last year's count, but are lower than the counts we saw for the previous 4 years, 2021 to 2024. I think last year we did have a couple of counties where we just struggled to connect with some of the, especially with some of the unsheltered counts. But so I think we did an improved job this year in terms of that count. And so as we certainly by April, I would anticipate coming back with a full report for you all in terms of numbers by counties, some additional breakdowns on demographics. One of the things we've seen, and not just in the point in time count, but with our other homeless services provider partners, is increase in the aging population that is experiencing homelessness, and that goes throughout the region. And not always experiencing homelessness, but ones that are calling into the coordinated entry line for assistance. A lot of times we'll hear either, I've been in a long-term rental situation and the landlord is looking to sell the house, and what do I do? or, you know, that their social security benefits or other benefits they might be living off of do not meet the rising rents that we've seen. And that, again, is something we've seen throughout the region. So again, more information on the point in time count and some of the other stuff in April for sure. And I do want to share on behalf of Lisa that she gave sort of the breakdown, because I know prior this year they had renamed what had been the Culpeper winter heat shelter and had called it the Piedmont warming shelter. I think in an effort to recognize that it does serve more than just Culpeper. But she provided some numbers based, and this is through February 15th. So they've had 65 people that have come through and stayed at least one night in the warming shelter, and it's I think they've got 31 spaces during a really cold snap. They did bring in some cots, and I think increased that for several nights. So they've had 65 come through. So obviously not everyone has stayed or has made other arrangements afterwards. 41 of those are from the region. So that's about 2/3 from the region. 24 are from outside of PD9, but within Virginia, so other parts of Virginia. I think probably my guess would be Fredericksburg, Virginia, maybe a few from Winchester area. 2 from out of state. I want to say that was either Maryland or somewhere, you know, adjacent. And then within of those 41 that were within Planning District 9, the breakdown was 27 of those Culpeper, 7 from Fauquier, 4 from Orange, and 3 from Madison, none from Rappahannock as of February 15th. So I'm sure if Lisa's able to come and speak to you all in April or at another point, she'll have those updated numbers, but did want to share that because I know that's something they've been tracking, again, just as a mechanism of you know, making sure that it's known that it's not just Culpeper, although that certainly is the majority. All right, a couple other items outside of the Foothills Housing Network. Again, really want to, and I think I've sent this out to all of you, but want to really urge all of you to, if you haven't put it on your calendar, March 27th, which is a Friday, the Regional Housing Summit that we're hosting along with we're hosting, but we've got a lot of partners involved. We've got some great sponsorships from Virginia Housing, from Path Foundation, and Compass has come on as a sponsor, Community Touch, and People Incorporated as well that have contributed financially to this. But this is going to be a single day kind of event, and this right now our agenda, we've got Ryan Price, who, if you were here a couple of years ago at the annual meeting at Old House in Culpeper from Virginia Realtors, is going to kind of give us not the same presentation because he's going to have updated data, but sort of that state of housing and demographics, not just in the region, but throughout Virginia. We've got a panel on focused on kind of veterans housing and housing issues, not only for veterans, but also the aging population. We've got Housing Board Virginia, who's going to kind of do a General Assembly recap of anything that has or is going to pass through the General Assembly and the impacts of that on not just localities, but, you know, nonprofit and housing providers and others. And then a deep dive into, with Housing Board Virginia as well, deep dive into the Virginia Zoning Atlas and some of the impacts on that. We've asked them to kind of craft their presentation to focus on some of the things that come up around here a lot, which is not only aging in place and you know, trying to work with the population and aging population, but also accessory dwelling units, which seems to come up, you know, regularly, and you know, has different, you know, there's different approaches that are going to work for each of our counties and each of our towns, but we've asked them to sort of focus on that. And then the last panel is going to be a focused discussion with People Incorporated, Community Housing Partners, Newer Valley Land Trust, just talking about some innovative approaches, innovative ideas, some like with People Incorporated, what they were able to accomplish here at Culpeper, Lightfoot Project, and some of their other work, just to sort of tee up some additional questions. So please, again, if you haven't put it on your calendar, please do, and please let myself or Tara Jones on our staff know if you do want to attend. We've got space. It's at Airly. It's going to be really nice. But yeah, encourage all of you to do that and share with your colleagues as well, because we're looking for a good crowd to come out. I'm scrolling back here. I just wanted to provide, this is just a real quick example of kind of quarterly report that the Mobility Center that Kristen Lampraza and staff working with the RTC and Mobility Center just put together. So you can kind of see, Kristen presented, I think, in October to the commission, and for new members, the Mobility Center is doing a lot of work connecting volunteer driver programs, but also pushing requests coming out to public transit where it's possible. But just wanted to make sure that I included this because it really, I think, what I think we're seeing here is the not only, tracking. I know one of the data points at the presentation in October showed a lower number in, I think, in Hawk year, but we've seen in the first quarter of this year that has shifted. And as I spoke to the Madison board a couple of weeks ago for a budget request, and we are redoubling our efforts in with the Mobility Center in Madison to get those numbers up too. But if this is helpful to you, or if you want Kristen or any of their staff to present at anything locally or be involved, please let me know, because we're collecting a lot of data and there's a lot of information there that I think would be beneficial to keep sharing.
When did this transition to you all?
Coincided with this report, so October 1st, and I'll actually get into that in just a second, in terms of some of the, but the transition of the Mobility Center had previously been under contract with Encompass for about 10 years. Over the summer, the commission agreed, and based on staff's recommendation, to bring that internal. So we've hired 4 new staff members, 3 that are mobility specialists that are, taking the calls and doing a lot of, I think actually one of the things that we've really been able to see the benefit of is with Medicaid transportation, because so many of the calls that come in do qualify for Medicaid transportation. And a lot of times it's just making that client comfortable reaching out, or in some cases, just getting in touch with the transportation provider through Medicaid and confirming appointments, because that's not always the easiest system to access and work through. So that's been one area where we've seen just the benefit of having them internal and really make that connection for the clients. All right, on environmental natural resources, you can see Michelle's going to be speaking at Environment Virginia. There's a panel with regional commissions and planning district commission staff talking mostly about best management practice implementation in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So that's in Lexington in April. And then I've got a couple of things back here which I'll pass around. A couple of recent I guess publications, you could call them, that we've completed. The first one is a stormwater best management practice assessment, and this was Michelle and one that way and two that way, working with Friends of the Rappahannock and Soil and Water Conservation Districts. We're able to, and Orange County and the towns in Orange. This was sort of a pilot project to see, okay, what can we do to looking at county and town owned land and municipal owned property, and identify, some potential projects that with implementation funding available through Department of Environmental Quality or other sources, this would really tee us up for future applications. I think this was well received by the Orange County and town staff that we worked with, and our goal is to kind of move this around the region, at least one county and town a year. So this current year, we're targeting Madison, and then I think after that we'll start to talk with Rappahannock, Culpeper, and Fauquier if there are opportunities if they'd like to work through that. The other one is a septic BMP gap study report, and this one was largely based off of work that came out of the recent TMDL, total maximum daily load implementation plan in Culpeper, which was 2024 into 2025, which identified a higher number of septic and alternative septic systems, and some of those that don't fall within the guidelines and the eligibility for cost share money, and finding some areas where those had failed. So working again with some of those soil and water conservation district partners and the Virginia Department of Health. Just sort of summarize this, I think the goal here is to start to push DEQ to open up some of those eligibility guidelines so that alternative systems would be open for cost share, that already Culpeper, Soil and Water, and John Marshall do a good job of bringing into the region.
There we go.
And then the last one I want to highlight, again, some work that we did, and this is coming off of the hazard mitigation plan and flood resiliency plan. We were approached from Department of Conservation and Recreation. They had a graduate fellow, I think, I want to say with VCU, who was looking to do sort of a plan alignment tool with our hazard mitigation resiliency plan with local plans. And so and so this was free to the commission and timely because of our completion of the hazard mitigation plan. So what we have, and this is printed copies, don't really convey it. It's actually a nice drop down Excel thing where you can build things in, but this kind of walks through the ability to take the recommendations and the strategies that are in the regional hazard mitigation and resiliency plan and tie them into your local existing plans, comp plans, capital improvement, emergency operations, others. And as part of that, maybe the one that's more useful rather than the blank one is the regional plan analysis. We used Fauquier County, Michael Goditis, the emergency manager, and Fauquier jumped on this. And so we used Fauquier as the template and the example. And what you see in this second one is really all of the strategies that are existing within the hazard mitigation and resiliency plan, and then it ties them to relevant local plans. So comprehensive plan, parks and open space plan, capital improvements. And then as this goes on, as the sheets go on, ties in each of those. So for example, emergency operations plan, there's, Fauquier County recommendation number 10 from the regional plan is implement a community or regional debris management strategy. And so that talks about where it can tie in and how it can tie into those other local plans. So I raise that again as we have one county complete. Our goal would be to work with the rest of the counties and towns with our hazard mitigation plan to better align those with your other local plans. That's one of the things that FEMA has often said, what they really want to see is, not just a standalone regional hazard mitigation plan, but something that does tie in and align with your local plans that have more authority than what the hazard mitigation plan has. All right. Tying into hazard mitigation, a couple of updates. We are still waiting approval of that plan that was submitted initially in December of 2024. We continue to work with Region 2, BDEM, and push FEMA for an answer on that. We're hopeful that, again, I feel like a broken record, but we're hopeful by the time I see you again in April that we'll have approval on that and can begin the local FEMA process as well. And if you recall from last summer, we did submit a hazard mitigation grant application in partnership with Rappahannock-Rapidan Cooperative, and just had some information come earlier this week that it does look like that's going to at least be moved up to the next step up to as part of the state's application. So we'll report back on that. That was for some infrastructure replacement, largely in Madison County, coming out of Shenandoah National Park. All right, the last two things I want to share at your along with the agenda at each space. There's just a one-page sort of calendar of important dates, and there's not too many of them. I don't feel like this is something that's should be crowding your calendar that you have. But just lays out the commission meeting dates, and then a couple of other dates that one should be aware of. One, the housing summit. 2, in July, there is a Virginia Association of Planning District Commission. We're calling it Funding for the Future workshop, and that would be with a multi-region area. So this is going to be in Fredericksburg. I think at the baseball stadium, if I'm not mistaken, would be where that workshop would take place, and would really be targeted towards bringing in state and federal funders, as well as Virginia Resources Authority and some of the others, just to have discussions about, especially around, I think I've heard water and wastewater infrastructure brought up by a lot of people already in the 20 minutes before the meeting. I think that would be the goal of that workshop in the summer. And then the last one is, would really appreciate if anybody has any, 9 months from now, but there's 3 dates, sort of 3 Wednesdays in late September, early October for the annual meeting. This year we're slated to be in Orange, so would certainly appreciate Supervisor Nichols, Supervisor Hale, Mr. Snyder, if there's any direction as to locations that you'd like us to engage with to see if there's a good spot to go in Orange. Last time we were there was 2021 at Lake of the Woods, so maybe something that, elsewhere in the county would be great, but we're open to suggestion there, and we'll be trying to finalize those, finalize that date and location before April. All right, and then the last thing, I feel like I've said that 2 or 3 times, but just for the new members, and for everybody else, twice a year, we provide you just with a financial account summary, and this is just a status of where there's both the operating, what we call the operating accounts at Atlantic Beacon and the reserve accounts with Vision Investment Pool where they stand. Really, the one thing I want, and this goes back to the question about the mobility center and the transition there. The one thing I really want to highlight is we remain in good position for both operating and the Virginia Investment Pool account. But if you look at the month-to-month financially, you can see the checking and mobility management, checking and money market, both in December, being pretty low as they were pretty much throughout the year. And this was as a result of the federal shutdown. And so you can see the difference between 1 year and 2 year and December being in the red for the first time. Because of the federal shutdown, the money, the grant funds that we get, it's Federal Transit Administration Section 5310, which funds the mobility management program. Those were not being reimbursed. So we floated, now we floated about 4 months of those costs. And that was at the same time bringing on staff internal. And so rather than being able to try to hold off Encompass as a contractor or being able to renegotiate with them, we bore those costs. Once the federal shutdown ended in November, it took probably about 6 weeks for that process to unravel and eventually get to the point where the Department of Rail and Public Transportation was able to say yes, go ahead and reconsider your reimbursement request. I will say the one other interesting thing that came out of that was, and I'm going to make sure I can pull up I was going to try to pull up. Here we go. One of the items from the state budget that's going on, if you can see this, zoom in here. I think it's the House budget. Yeah. So there's a language amendment for the I apologize, it's in the House budget, HB 30. There's a language amendment that went in for the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, have the ability to use funds from its reserve balance. It should Section 5310 or 5311 funding be delayed in receipt because of federal government shutdown. So I don't think this will happen again in the future. But it was, there were certainly moments where we're sort of like, well, I mean, we could cover it, but it was sort of like, how long are we going to let this go without having to take some further action or figure out another workaround. So again, that just as a point of emphasis, just letting you know that that's where the one item that I would highlight from this financial account summary. But other than that, everything remains positive.
End of the day, you were made for your whole though.
I don't want to put Terry on the spot. I don't know that we've gotten all of our reimbursements yet, but we have seen, and I will give. Sometimes I criticize some of the state agencies. I think I will give DRPT some credit because they did take funds that they had held from previous years that had been unspent and did give us a little bit of money. But yes, we have received at least one reimbursement at the end of the process, and so it will be made whole.
The documents you passed around, is that something people can get?
They will be posted to the website also, and we are active. So the documents, so actually that's for the next item too. So the calendar will be posted up there as well as the legislative items as well. And the 3 that you mentioned, yes, I'll send links out.
Madam Chair, I have 2 items or 2 questions. Patrick, the July the 15th date, that workshop, is that regarding funding for the commissions?
No, that is largely, I think, our target audience through VAPDC, and I apologize because that's not, I have that in here. Target audience is actually local governments and, whether it's your staff or yourselves as elected officials, to really I don't know if anybody in here remembers, but Virginia Resources Authority used to they would do a multi-day conference infrastructure funding. This was probably 4 or 5 pre-pandemic. And so really what this is trying to bring that sort of discussion back in terms of how can PDCs help local governments identify funding for infrastructure projects, things like that. So I think that's the target rather than funding like
Gotcha.
General Assembly for.
Okay. And then if we could circle back just real quick to the Piedmont Warming Shelter, since Lisa's not here, and I just wanted to say a few things about our warming shelter. And really, I wanted to ask everybody here at the table, my colleagues and friends, to consider as you're working on your budgets now, Janelle, to consider setting aside a small amount of money to help us fund the Piedmont Warming Shelter. I think the budget this year was 120,000, right, Sam, or 150?
I think 150.
I think it was 150. And so we have Culpeper County has funded that with $50,000 for the past 3 years. Usually it's kind of a close vote, in all honesty. I'm normally the one championing this project. It's really a worthwhile endeavor. It is not just a shelter where people come and they get fed and then they leave and then they come back. Lisa Peacock and the staff of Culpeper Human Services actually, that we have full-time staff that are there. They case manage all of the people, all the guests that come in. They do phenomenal work. They help refer them to agencies for medical care, dental, job assistance, housing assistance. They really make a tremendous difference in the lives of the people who come there. I think every year that we have success stories where, 3 or 4 people, they were able to find them permanent housing because they stayed at the shelter. So it's much more than kind of your typical shelter. And if you ever worked or volunteered at a shelter, and I've done that, it can be overwhelming because what my experience was, people came, you kind of did crowd control, you fed them, and then they left the next day. Well, this is much more than that. So it's significant in terms of helping our most unfortunate citizens. And so to fund it, Lisa typically, we have funded $50,000 of her budget, but then she has to go and work and kind of scramble. I think Path has been very generous, and I forget who else, Sam was.
They were one of the big ones.
Yeah, they typically are. But it would be helpful for our neighboring counties to consider a contribution. And I just wanted to bring that up and let everybody know again, because Lisa's not here. It is so much more than just a warm place to stay in and food. They make transformational changes in people's lives. And so it's well worth the investment because and we do get people from all around the area. That's why we changed it to the Piedmont. Of course, that was a rebranding too. I think we were trying to get more funding from our neighboring counties. So I didn't want to put a little plug in there for that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd say too on that, Encompass, the facility that they use at St. Luke's is under Encompass's lease, and Encompass has been a key partner. And I would say just sitting in on some of their sort of long-term planning meetings, I feel like they have a better direction this year. A lot of times it's you get to the end of March and it's everybody take a deep breath and then come back at it in August or September.
Right.
I think this year it feels like there's actually some momentum to keep things moving for what that's worth.
Well, and certainly, I'm sorry to.
No,
interrupt you,
please.
And certainly just one final thing, as we all experienced this unbelievable cold, right? Something that we have not experienced in a long time. And just when you think of survival without a warming shelter like that, I mean, it just cannot happen. So it is something that I am certainly committed to. I know Sam is, to find a way to keep this going. And so just wanted to bring that up. So
I just, if I may add to that, just to educate myself a little more. So I heard Encompass is a leaseholder. Is Encompass helping with the program, or is that just all run through Department of Human Services? Or
I believe Encompass was a pretty.
I remember
partner with the
initially, but are
program.
they doing
Yeah.
anything
I think
now?
I believe that they provided staff as well. Well, Sam, I'm a little lost on this. Yeah.
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 I'm pretty sure Encompass provides staff and it's still
Mhm.
very active. And I would just like to send along thanks to the Warming Center for all of their help this winter. I will say from the Orange County standpoint, I don't recall receiving a funding request until like fall, maybe. And we had already sort of made our allocations to external
Sure.
organizations, so it would be helpful as we're in the budget process now. And I can reach out to Lisa
Yeah.
about this, but it just hit me as you're talking.
Absolutely.
Be nice now to get a request
Right.
for what's needed. Not that we could fully, maybe we could fully help, but at least get it on
Yeah.
our budget and our budget.
Sure.
discussion.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. I will send her an email about that also.
That's been a big time and issue for us too, because
you know, your mid fiscal year, and now you need to come up with, you know, $50,000, which is not easy to do, so,
Sure.
yeah.
I think we were
Time.
creative in how we got it, but.
Yeah.
Or got something to help, but. Just don't want them to get
Yeah,
lost
that's
in the
great.
shuffle.
Absolutely, that's a great
Good
point.
point.
Yep, great point.
Whole business.
I think so.
This is something I asked to have on the agenda over a year ago, probably. So if we're getting bored with it, because I think it's just fought here and Rappahannock now. But just an open discussion on broadband and how things are going. I think everybody else is taking care of it.
We are now. Orange County Broadband Authority FiberLink.
Are you complete or still?
Oh, no, not
No.
complete, but we're getting started. Excellent, yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you give it a shift or who's your provider
FiberLink.
or? So it is
From Orange
that,
County.
okay. I knew there was some things you couldn't talk about because of litigation at some point.
There's still that too, but.
But it's good,
Yeah.
because I remember out of the area, Orange County's not paying me to say this. But you led the effort because you put your own monies up several millions of dollars before VATI and other things, so.
We're very
You
excited.
definitely got a good
for
partner.
Culpeper. Yep, and I believe Joshua brought the MOU to us.
Yeah, we had the contract
Yeah.
approved formally last night.
Yes.
to get our broadband.
Oh, good.
And our special projects coordinator Laura sent out an email last night to the board stating that too, so
Yeah.
we're excited to be
Yeah,
able to share.
exciting
that.
stuff, yeah.
That's great. Congratulations. Now there's Fox here in Rappahannock.
Right, still slow going in Fauquier. They've started at the southern end. We have got a temporary project manager to help us pull permits from VDOT to make, to help accountability with, all points. So we're getting a little more information kind of back doorway versus, yeah, because every time you meet with Tom, he says he's working on it. So, yeah.
So that's a county staff person that you've hired.
Yeah, yep, 4 hours a day, but they've started working with VDOT, and I think that was one of the suggestions that Gary had, right, to get
Yeah.
with VDOT. And it's working, but still not fast, and it doesn't look like they're gonna have all the deadlines done by end of the year. We're also still having trouble with them coming to our board because of that, but hopefully we'll have something for March.
Excellent. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Are they saying anything about if they don't make the end of the year?
So we've started talking to VADI and also DHCD about what that looks like and what kind of extension we can have. They're still looking at us and saying, oh, no, we're gonna make it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't look like that. The other interesting part is their project was big. And now with Bede's taken over some of it, and theirs is more, it's smaller, same cost, but smaller. But yet they're not basing what it's gonna look like if it's not done.
You have ARPA dollars tied to that project, because that
Unfortunately,
becomes
that's what our
complicated.
issue is, yeah.
Yeah,
The
So
Beatty
we-
side, but not the B, right?
Right, not the B, but the Beatty side, we did put ARPA, so we're looking now about how do we fund that down? Because we're not in a spot where we can,
right, absolutely. Yeah.
but we did find a loop in the treasury bill that states if there's change orders. So we're
Good.
gonna look legally at that with our attorney. We have an outside counsel lit in sight helping us, but yeah, no. Yeah, talk about being thrown into the water sometimes. Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Misery loves company. All right, moving on to General Assembly and Legislative Program Update. And everybody's got copies?
Yeah, there's copies around the,
That's the
table.
Yes, yes.
And these are just, this was the most recent report from Elvin James and Laura Bateman on Sunday after the crossover and budget committee release of information. I think really, certainly happy if there's, Mr. Heflin, good to see you. Thank you. It certainly, my thought in talking with the chair was if there's conversation around legislation and other items that are still pending at the General Assembly, that's absolutely fine and certainly something that would be worth hearing around the table. The other thing that I asked, the chair to kind of talk about was since the commission does hold this contract now, at least for a year with 4 options, really wanting to hear from you all what's helpful. Are the reports that I'm sending out once a week helpful? If they're not, there's another format, now's a good time to let me know. The other thing, as I mentioned, and I didn't mention, I made in the written director's report, but for local government day, the chair was down along with many of you, Supervisor Nickel. and several from Madison, you know, Downs and Fauquier County staff. And, you know, I think maybe 2 or 3 days before, she said, do we have any sort of one pager? And I was like, no, we don't, but I can throw something very quickly together, have our people that do graphics internally here are better than I am at it. But I think that's the sort of thing that, you know, I just hadn't really thought of it, but if that's the sort of thing that would be helpful, I want to make sure that, you know, certainly for this year, but if we continue this contract moving forward, that it does become something that's more helpful for everybody, and that we're doing things beyond just, okay, here's what we've always done, here's the reports, which I do think are beneficial. But you won't gonna talk through that.
In my previous life with Griffin Tavern, the State Restaurant Association, the RLTA, we lobbied every year in Richmond and in DC, so that's why I have a little bit of knowledge about the lobby world. And what they would do, and I really expected this out of VACO, but I haven't seen it yet, is the day of the event or the day before the event, they would give you the one pagers, they would walk through what's the important things you want to hit with each of your delegates and senators. And you had something that you could leave with them. And I think that's important because they're in so much of a hurry at this time of year that if they at least have something to look at, that's good. The other thing that I recognize over the years, and they've told us this throughout the years, is don't talk to us in January and February, talk to us in July or June. So Patrick and I had a brief conversation about maybe having a social / serious event where we can bring in our local representatives, invite them for wine and cheese, and then have some, what are we really concerned about as a region? And I think we can get to them early, it will be helpful. But that's my idea based on my past, so I don't know what you guys see, but.
I think getting to them early does make sense. I can only speak for Madison, that it's hard to track this unless you're down there every day. So we're thankful for those services. But the frustrating part from Madison's position is, you know, bills that we may be pushing, that's part of the regional effort, or it could be individual county initiative, is you'll get notification like sometimes 6, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. the night before. Hey, can you be down here at 7 a.m. to testify? Or it's just, that's not any of this group's fault. It's just, it's a little frustrating how that works. We scramble the best we can, but that doesn't always work out.
Well, the legislators don't know either.
Right.
But you're right, you're absolutely, this is the advice we used to give from the other side of the equation when I worked for Bryce. That was the advice we gave to people, start in the summertime when they're starting to think about bill priorities and drafting. If you walk in the door in January and say, I want to talk about a bill, it's like, you're 6 months too late. Having something is great. To your point, we don't even know sometimes, or we didn't, until 9 or 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes, what was gonna be docketed the next day.
Yeah.
So we were kind of in the same boat. Yeah, I know it's tough, but
They'll start early though. I think
yeah,
that's the
just,
thing.
but, yeah, having an organized early effort is very important.
Last year, we had lunch and we brought everybody on board and the delegations, and that was very successful. I think they got to tell from their point when they want information from us, and also gave us some previews. So I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I think, you know, little counties like Rappahannock may not be seen, but a regional approach, I think, you're more likely to be heard, and I like that. The other thing that, the state association used to do was if there was a topic that they were like, oh my gosh, this is coming up, it's likely to pass, send a note to your senator or delegate, they would send us a note that you could edit the way you wanted it to make it feel like it was coming from you. But at least you had something that was pre-written. I mean, to send a note that says, please write your delegate, I'm like, what am I gonna say? You know, what do I need to say that's gonna grab their attention? So anything we can do to have something that's pre-written that you can put Debbie Donahue, Rappahannock County, you know, we wanna stay scenic. I can change it that way, and everybody in this room can do that as well. I just think it's more likely to get done if somebody else has done most of the work for us.
I mean, Farm Bureau does a good job with it. Virginia Farm Bureau, there's an app that they have gotten their members to use where you can just click on it and you can either do it on email or on the app, and it'll send And I've done it, I've set it and pressed it, and James has been in the Senate account and said, your email came through, I mean, just like that.
Yep.
Um,
And I always wanted,
and Patrick's, you need to develop an app, but,
I
you know,
always wanted to edit it a little bit so it didn't look like a form letter, because I assume they get tons of the same letter, just with a name change at the bottom of it, so. I always tried to change it up a little bit, but at least it was a starting point.
How many of y'all, I've been down for the legislative days before, and in January, I feel like I accomplished zero and spent a lot of time doing it. And, but going down to testify, was put forward a measure for us last year. I feel like that testimony was very helpful. And having, a sit down powwow, a few months in advance, in July, August, September, building up is also very helpful. I'd be happy if there was never another legislative day. I feel like if they don't want us there, we are wasting their time. They got their hair's on fire. They
Yeah.
don't want us there.
My
Y'all
thing
feel that
is,
way?
if you set up your own meetings, you're likely to get in. If you wait to the day of, you're not likely to get in.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff that I'm surprised that VACO doesn't do a better job coordinating. But I don't care what time VACO's meeting. If I can get in to see Bryce at, 11 o'clock, I'm gonna go see Bryce. And that's really what I ended up doing this year. I didn't attend most of the VACO speeches.
At the time that I went down, Eldon had coordinated and set up, 6 meetings for us or something like that. And so it was a small group of us, there were maybe 6 of us or something like that went in. And there were meetings, but we get there and they go, turns out the senator or the delegate is busy, but what would you like us to tell him? And I just felt like it was such a complete, ineffective way to do it. But getting there well in advance, even if it's a December, when you know what's on the dock, you know what's coming up. And then you can emphasize the things you've already told them. But waiting until January, I think is,
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you definitely have a much better chance of getting in to see them. If it's not the first time they've ever seen you. So
Yeah.
if you have a relationship, Debbie, you could call last minute and Bryce is gonna say. Five minutes my calendar to see you. But if it was some Joe Blow from some organization, it was like Snyder, here's your list of meetings and I'll take Debbie, right? And just because. So,
I think we could do a kind of a serious conversation that leads into a barbecue or something.
Yeah.
That would be a regional approach that, when we filled Bryce's office the other day, I think it got his attention.
I do too.
Yeah.
If I could ask, Ms. Downs, county gonna do the same thing again?
We were
Something
planning, yeah.
Yeah,
We could-
I mean,
We
I
could
don't
do
want,
it all together, I mean.
I don't wanna
that's-
presume
yeah.
to say, well, look,
Yeah.
we don't wanna, double book or anything like that, but, and also knowing, there's certain, delegates that only represent
Right.
Fauquier rather than the whole region, but if there is the ability to do it all as one, that makes sense. If not, then, but
No,
that can be part of what we
absolutely.
explore.
I think it would be great. I mean, this time getting in, I guess it's our 3rd time, they were like, let's do dinner. Well, we didn't think about dinner. We were, yes, I think there's a lot of opportunities and I think they're willing to meet us, so.
If there's any questions on, any legislation, I'll defer to probably to Chris on those, but. I do know that the stuff that Eldon has provided, like I said, I'm happy to sort of give them, and I think Eldon and Laura both have asked for, if there's direction to them that would improve that can be something else we kind of follow up with, but I do think. The other piece I would say is certainly once this session is over, it basically start just about again, rather, this year we just ran into having to do it all late, but that would be the goal.
And Supervisor Yao, he and I are texting, so I think in between auditors, he's listening, but he said to answer your question, yes, he finds it very useful, the information he gets.
Great. Moving into new business. First item is a request from Culpeper County related to regional jail arrangements. Mr. Lee?
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Patrick for putting us on the agenda. Oh, there are my notes. And so I just wanted to, we thought it would be helpful for the commission to kind of hear what's going on with our situation with our jail and offer any support, ideas, suggestions. Don't do that, those kinds of things. So currently in Culpeper, we have a jail in town. It's fairly old. Well, it's really old. It's in great disrepair. We house about 65 inmates there. That's about right, Sam.
Yeah.
And
70, yeah.
and over 200 are farmed out to different local regional jails. And so it's really an unsatisfactory situation. Our current jail is in such bad shape that we have an order from Judge Durer to fix the problem. And the cost would be between $5 and $8 million. But the building's so old, the building's and Sam did a facility index study. And the building is worth $4.1 million, right?
Maybe.
So that doesn't make sense. So along with that, Sam presented us, and we've kind of been, talking about this for the past year and kind of spinning our wheels. And to be honest with everybody, I got tired of making no progress on this. And we talked about building our own jail, but that's another, 50, 60, 70 million. And right now we have a courthouse that we're going to have to build. That's 110, 115 million plus elementary school number 8, which is another 70. And those are coming in the next 5 years. So those are really our top priority. So it's just not possible for us to lump another jail or another big capital project in there like that. Our county administrator put out a fantastic summary, and I like to brag on Sam because I think he does great work. And he put out an executive summary detailing our situation and giving us data and numbers to look at. And his recommendation was that we should join a regional jail. And I certainly thought that was the wisest move for us and the best use of taxpayer money. And so I made the motion. I was all excited about that, and it did pass unanimously with the board. So that's where we are. We're moving forward. There's still our sheriff, and he does a fantastic job, but he doesn't like this idea, and he gets on Facebook and puts things out there about building our own jail and how that's a better idea, and et cetera, et cetera. And so we're kind of navigating all that. Sam's been in contact with I think Rappahannock-Shenandoah Warren,
RSW.
correct? And then you were
Mr.
also
Curry, who's not here today, and Superintendent Gilkinson.
Okay.
Had a good meeting.
all right. And have you been in touch with the
CVRJ, kind of waiting to see if they've heard back from Davenport.
Okay.
We've engaged them. We've talked. I've talked.
Brian and I've talked, right?
Yeah.
I've talked to the chair. I serve on the Central Virginia Regional Jail Authority, so if you're wondering why I'm.
Happy down there. It's our largest water customer in town, so.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we have space.
Oh, we've got,
plenty of space.
we've got great
We'd like
space,
to partner, probably.
and
Right.
it's
Five for now, yeah.
like the space is not, it's not like we would have to come in and expand to be able to accommodate you. We can right now.
And our assumption was
And at the
that,
same judicial district.
that's right. And our belief was that an expansion would be needed. But Brian and I had a nice conversation on the phone, and Brian's like, oh, no, we have enough space right now. So it's exciting. I'm a believer in positive programs for those that are incarcerated. I think we have to do all that we can to help people to turn their lives around. And the system that we have set up right now is just woefully inadequate to accomplish that goal. And so we wanted to just kind of put that out to the commission. This was not my idea. Chairman Underwood and I had a nice conversation, and Tom loves the RRRC. And so he said, let's bring that up to on the agenda. And I said, okay, we will. So just wanted to put it out there to everybody, and any ideas or thoughts are going to be welcome. Sam, did I miss anything in my
No,
Uh,
rambling?
no. I mean, it's just, we recognize we need some permanent structure for that, which we don't have now, and that's gonna take some negotiations and arrangements to do that, so.
Is a formal conversation going on with CVRJ?
Oh, yeah, we've had formal, so what we're doing is we're involving Davenport to kind of say, all right, it won't, it won't be 60 million
Right.
to come in, so, so that's for sure. What that number is, you know, has to be played out through a financial and fiscal view, both past and future. It's, I mean, I've been around in my career jails and those kinds of operations over time, and I am absolutely impressed and confident that if you were to come to CVRJ, we're in a great place. The way that,
Where is the CVRJ?
it's in Orange, it's in Orange.
15,
Just-
just at the out edge.
Just a little bit out, sort of down 15 towards Gordonsville.
Okay,
So it's a great facility. We've got great leadership.
It's closest for us. For the-
And
Great
it's
program.
close, it's same judicial district. You save a lot of money.
Mhm.
If I were you, I told Supervisor Lee, I said, if I were you, if I were literally in your shoes, I would not go build a new jail. There is no, like, if this were Orange and the Central Virginia jail was in Culpeper, there is no way in the world we would go build a new jail.
Right. And that was the conclusion that I came to doing my analysis at least, and that's what.
And it's 5 counties.
It's really good.
So
Yeah.
it's 5 county and we have fed, all that sort
Yeah.
of, you know, trickling down. And then we have some counties who need to utilize because of other issues they have. And the other thing I think, if it's just the way the world is going, is there are less people going into jail.
Yeah.
And so the decline in the population is also, so you build a jail and you think, oh, we're gonna build it for the future.
Right.
And if the future is going like this, you're
That's a good thing.
really wasting money.
Yeah, that's a good
It's a
thing.
bad thing, but a good thing.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
it is,
you're right.
right, yeah, it's a
But
good
we
thing.
do that
Yeah.
going on, so we do, I
Yeah.
mean, I would think that that would be a great opportunity for
Mhm.
a lot of us.
If you haven't toured the facility, I would recommend to any board member, Supervisor Buchanan, who's our representative from Madison County. Of course, sheriffs are automatically a member of it. I've done that tour before, but Superintendent Dyer runs a fantastic operation. You and Page County are already paying a fee. We benefited from that, so thank you.
Yeah.
But one thing good to know, you were talking about conditions of your existing facility. One thing I learned in doing that recent tour is they do a great job. I'm kind of envious from a county of capital planning. But they have gone in and redone, you know, plumbing and other things from the original jail to the addition part. So they really take care of their facility. So it's not a question of, because I know you're looking at your current facilities, is this a good facility? Do they have the
Right.
same issues? Another thing I learned, because we asked while we were there, what if you had to expand? They have acreage if they needed to do
Right.
so. And I think they've run some preliminary numbers.
We run the numbers and the expansion, we could easily handle anything in the future if we needed to expand as a 6 county and something were to kick up or something like that. It's,
And again, to your transport, I mean, it's
Yeah.
close proximity. Transport
Yeah.
alone can run your budget number.
Right.
and granted, I'm
Yeah,
a
that's
new
what's happening
member
now.
on the authority, so I came on the authority, I knew nothing about it. Superintendent Dyer is phenomenal. I mean, I walked out of there and was like, oh gosh, that's one thing I don't have to worry about. I mean, you know,
Until he retires, right? We're like,
Right.
who's next?
like you worry about that because of those facilities are tough to manage and operate. But I walked out of there and I was like, we're in a good situation. And the counties work together very, very well. Very.
Yeah,
Right,
good.
can you-
That's very
how
positive.
many beds does that facility have? And how many of those are available for, you know, for others?
Oh, I should know that. I don't have that off the top of my head. If I were superintendent, I would know that, but I don't have that. I think I was thinking it was like, no, I'm not even gonna say what I was thinking. I'll get that for you if
Okay.
you like.
So I think I heard,
So,
if I heard correctly, David, you said you had like over 200 people that are not at your home jail,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
right.
And you think all 200 of those could go down to the regional
Well,
jail?
some of them are already at.
Well,
Some of them are there.
yeah, some of them are there, but actually our entire inmate population would go there, would they not?
Yeah.
Sam?
35-ish is our.
Yeah, we would just have a small number of beds at our current
Yeah.
jail. We do have to do some repairs. So.
We have
but
capacity.
The majority of
after
it would
that.
go.
So we
yeah.
have a capacity that's built in that would, and I think we have an agreement with Nelson County that's gonna sort of sunset. So we've been helping them out and that sunsets, which gives us more capacity. The Fed population is sort of trickled down. I mean, it's not even close to having an issue. I mean, it's a well-run operation, but what we also said, all right, you wanna, not knowing in the initial conversation, did you have 600 people that you wanted to bring over? Now we might have to build a facility, you know, but with everything, we're in pretty good shape.
What other regional jails are there? I know that we generally use Winchester.
Yeah, we're Northwestern Regional
Mhm.
is ours, so we transport to Winchester. We have 60 people there and 50 at our old jail. Our jail's also very old.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have Rappahannock, Shenandoah, and Warren, and
Yep.
that's that Front Royal.
So
Right.
and it's a fairly new facility.
Yes, that is a new one. Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was a good move for us. The citizens still have the, oh, we should have built our own, we're wasting money going. And the one issue that we have, probably because we're small, is our deputy, we may have two on. And if you've got to transport someone from Rappahannock to Front Royal, then all of a sudden you've got one on.
Yeah.
So citizens do get a little concerned about that, but I don't think you're gonna have that kind of problem.
Yeah.
We're very grateful
So-
for the relationships we've had though with both the
Yeah.
regional jail partners, you know, because they've come in clutch for a long time for. a couple-
David, do y'all have, sorry, do y'all have holding facilities for folks before they're transported? Or
They may have a little area in the sheriff's office, but they transport as soon as whatever paperwork's done.
And that's actually some of the advice was, make sure you have some holding facility here in town, in the county. Because you have more individuals coming into the jail and you've gotta have kind of a balance there, so you don't run into that problem. Now you got like 10 deputies driving down the road
Right.
trying to drop people off. So I think there's a, small holding for certain counties, and then the jail is fantastic. It's
That's great.
really impressive.
So anyhow, so thank you, everybody, for your input, and we'll continue moving forward.
But
Awesome.
we
Yeah.
we impact the town police too, that's why we need a booking facility.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
Right.
we do not have our local jail, there, because I think they use that for
Mhm.
booking, so.
Mhm.
So we'll have to keep some type of door somewhere open, whether it's there,
Yeah,
renovated
right.
or somewhere else, but, so.
Yeah,
we
we're
need to
in the
get
middle
big
of
piece
that.
Figured out.
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
The Davenport analysis, just to, so
And I don't know, the magistrate services had an effect, because I know we have the option for our sheriff's office where you could either do video
Yeah.
there or go
Yes.
to the CVRJ.
right.
Jonathan, that's
Magistrate.
why it's good for us to probably, if we can make it work with CVRJ, because they're in the same magistrate.
Yeah, when you're in the same judicial district,
Yeah.
that eliminates a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
You wanna try to stay there if you can. It's, if it's the bottom dollar and you wanna save $5 million, then you'll have a lot of hassle, right? I mean, there's trade-offs on all these things.
Well, and joining the
Mr. Curry has been helping.
He has been very helpful.
He's been chair of the RSW board or authority for several years.
Yeah, and he has some stories from Gloucester County, which was important for me to hear too, so.
Mhm.
And joining the regional jail also satisfies all of the judge's orders.
Yes.
Correct, Sam, even if it's going to take a
Yeah,
little while,
because it-
and it's a lengthy list. Everybody, it's lengthy, so. And
Everything
when
you-
Sam gave his report, that was the one that stood out to me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good. That takes care
You
of.
go ahead and spend your $500 million, but you haven't
That's
taken
right.
care of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
That's right,
14,
yeah,
so.
that's right, yeah. So,
Hey, what is the timeline on your new judicial center courthouse, or what do you call it?
oh man, that's a great question.
I assume they'll have holding
That
facilities
depends on. who
in
you
there,
ask.
some cells.
That's yet to be determined. We're meeting with the architects and that's gonna be a discussion that we're gonna have with
Sounds like
them.
you're in the same timeline we're in then.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Just 3 quarters
We're-
being built, right?
yeah.
right.
Well, and yours is 115 million, you said?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good lord.
That's gonna help
We're-
me with the $20 million pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the
We're-
80 million or something like
Yeah.
that. And how do we end up with a cheaper one than you? I don't understand that.
You got
Oh.
question parking and a bunch of components, don't you?
Well,
That doesn't
um,
include.
We would
It
too.
doesn't include the.
No.
I think it's just
Parking's
space.
another
We're
problem.
so inadequate with our space needs
Are you
according
putting
to
other
the study.
here besides the courts, putting sheriff offices in there? or-
I don't think so. I think we,
Commonwealth
I don't
Attorney's
believe-
Office.
yeah,
yes.
whatever the
Attorney's
standard,
Office,
yeah.
Criminal Justice Services, which they do need to be in there. They're not in a good location.
yeah,
There
Magistrate.
there are some other services. that-
Magistrate, things like that,
Yes. Yes.
evidence lockers.
The only one that we would be near, that we wouldn't be there would be our crime victims witness program. They've asked to not be there, intentionally, so, yeah.
I mean,
Ratio
we're
is there.
currently, I think we're currently, less than half of the space needed.
Yeah.
I believe
it's about-
when I remember, I'm trying to remember the figures. I mean, we are so poorly
60,000
equipped
square feet short.
for square feet now, and then
The-
so to build something out for, I think it's 2045 to meet, and it's all the courthouse standards for the state of Virginia, all that kind of stuff. So in order to meet that standard, so I forget what the total square footage is, Sam, but
20.
yeah, but the price tag was around 115 million. So
Might give you a call offline just to
it's
figure out
fine.
how we could be so different. What are we missing in ours that you've got in yours before we head down that path?
Is yours that big then? So would you say 120,000 square feet? So you're
Mhm.
paying $1,000 a foot? Is what you're estimating?
I think
And you're straddling Cameron, you're gonna close Cameron Street?
That's part of the conversation,
and you'd have,
part of the conversation.
I hate to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I wanna make sure we're
We can
staying
move
on.
on. Yeah, yep. Yep.
But if we wanna have a courthouse. agenda, all right, so
Yeah.
next is a request for approval of application to Virginia Energy for the core sub awards grant program.
Give this a real quick, hopefully a real quick approval. Again, based on the earlier discussion on hazard mitigation, application we put in with REC, working with their staff again, they had identified the Virginia Energy, what they call their community-oriented resilient energy sub-award grant. So it's federal money. Virginia Energy is putting a small amount out. It's not a huge amount. We're hopeful that nobody knows about this program, so that we're the only application, but, gist of it is, this is a resilient infrastructure project that REC would come in, and they're basically what they're calling communicating fault current indicators, so CFCIs, and those are things that you can put on your tower grid infrastructure, and it gives you a heads up if the line is failing or if you've got some weakness in the line, so that they can, reduce outages, reduce outage time, downtime. As presented and as would be proposed, this would be about 15 locations that they have not yet identified, but that would be within the REC territory, within solely our region, not REC's entire service area, but solely within the Rappahannock-Rapidan region. So again, just seeking authorization to submit that, and then if we are awarded a smaller amount, we'll come back to you all with more formal presentation.
Do you need a motion?
That would be great.
Okay. Like to make
I
that-
move, staff be authorized to submit an application to the Virginia Energy Corps sub-award grant and for the executive director to execute contractual documents upon successful award.
second,
Have a second, all right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, if you recall, in December, the commission elected a slate of officers and one at-large executive committee member for terms beginning March 1st. The bylaws allow for up to 3 at-large members, and historically, the preference has been to have one member from each county or town within each county on the executive committee. At this time, I would like to nominate Mr. Nickel to the executive committee. In addition to those members already voted in December, if there are others interested in serving, there's one at-large position open as well.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank
And
you.
so you even said aye.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
I know the guy, so I kind of.
And you still said yes.
I know. You know.
Right, now we have the closed session. And I'm gonna ask the new guy to read this. I'm gonna ask, Patrick to exit during this part of the closed session and then we'll bring you back.
You wanna read it first?
Yeah. we don't-
I move that the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission conduct a closed meeting in accordance with section 2.2 3711. A1 and 4 of the Code of Virginia for a discussion of the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, including but not limited to a performance review of the executive director.
Second that.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. do with it. And Patrick and I have had discussions and there's a debate as to, well, not really a debate, discussion whether we should have a committee that's really focused on where do we want to be, or do we want to renovate this one? Do we want to go somewhere else? And I'm open to the committee discussion. If you've got any.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Before you continue, we have this stuff in training our head because we have to go to closed session all the time. Not, I shouldn't say all the time. This sounds horrible. I think, I'm not a parliamentarian expert, but I think we may have to move to reconvene in open session.
Okay,
And I'm happy to make that as a
I
motion
think
now.
that's probably a good call. So that's your
That's-
motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Oh,
Sorry, Madam Chair.
No, I appreciate it.
Christie, you're fast. That was fast one.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for that.
Sure.
Quick vote. As parliamentarian, do you think we need to do the certification again?
No, you self-certified, you just reconvene.
And if you don't want these, I'm sure Pat will take kind of.
We've got
Okay. All right.
on the building question.
Yes.
If that's, the executive committee is gonna have a meeting, you know, for other purposes.
Yep.
So it could be executive committee, if there's somebody that's not on the executive committee that feels they have, valuable insight to, either building renovation or building search, then that I think would be appropriate also.
The Shenandoah Regional Commission moved above a bank in Warren County, and it's very large and it's kind of a little bit of an echo chamber, but lots of good space. And I told Patrick he'd be jealous, but hopefully there's something not too far from where we are if we decide to move.
I have a broadband project to fund,
But we'll take that up with the executive committee and then come back. Regional roundtable, looks like.
up to you all.
Yep, if people aren't in a rush, I like hearing what's going on.
Don't have a whole lot. We did our water reuse project associated with our data centers to provide fueling. We did that project on the 19th. Our estimate going in was 25 million. It came back at 30 million. And that's the first time that I've had a project go over about $5 million. And I said, yes. Because the data centers pay 105% of whatever the cost is. So, so we just made $1.5 million by doing that. So anyhow, that should be awarded fairly soon. The site plan has been approved. They'll start on the Culpeper Technology Campus. So we're gonna see a lot of dirt moving in Culpeper, in the town. Some's already moving out in the county, but other than that, just budget and other things as usual.
busy and Culpeper remains busy. We do have some data center activity, which is good. We have, 2 major school projects underway, which is good. Very expensive, but needed. We talked about our jail quite a bit, courthouse. Several road projects.
And our swimming pool
Pool will be open Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. It's a big one.
Big partnership with the town of
Mhm.
Culpeper on that, so we're grateful for that opportunity. Let's see, budget season's been for May, but, yeah, we have a lot going on, so.
Budget season, which will probably be a theme all the way around the table. Broadband, I didn't mention earlier, I've got to get our latest numbers from Firefly as our provider. I know we're north of 2,000 customers. But we're in between 2 batty cycles, but we're excited. We have one provider and hopefully wrapped up. I think we got it extended out, that it may be hopefully the end of this year, no later than first quarter of the following year. So we've kind of revived our EDC, Economic Development Committee efforts. We've had that off again in Madison. So you may get inquiries from us, or, we're always interested to see, what resources we have versus what's out there. It's just, and what your citizens will support is first and foremost. So we had a town hall I think in fall, based on some initial information, we visited a data center campus, I think in Prince William, and explored some other things. So we'll continue to do so. The 29 corridor looks a little different than other localities may have other major corridors as well. We don't have an industrial park. Don't feel an initiative that they're gonna want to undertake that. So it's really, like many of you, is trying to find creative ways to expand your tax base through commerce other than your rooftop taxing everybody to death. So that's really what I have to report for that.
Budget. In addition, we had our reassessment, first time in 4 years. We're going to, every other year, so after this, but that's been, yeah, juggling some numbers there, not really, but you know what I'm saying. And then, Warren Green, we have a letter of interest, now working with the town of Warrenton to see if 18 Court Street can be put in the deal. That's for a boutique hotel, possibly 30 rooms, so that's going well. And we decided, we had put an RFP out for hangars. I think I mentioned that last year. It did not go so well, did not have robust bidding. So we did just get the grant from the state DOAV to do site prep. So hopefully we'll be able to go into the hangar business this in 2026, but we got a lot to replace and to build new for our airport.
Those who don't know, 10 Hotel Street
Yeah.
is the building that we house.
Yeah.
And so we will move again.
Yeah.
Sometime within the next year, most likely, and it'll become a boutique hotel again. You know, the big thing we're dealing with right now is the transmission lines that I think many of you, Rappahannock has spared this one. But we're trying to figure out how to prevent power lines that are solely for Northern Virginia's use of using Fauquier as a corridor. And that's just a dance that we have to keep dancing. And we've been fairly successful in requiring Dominion to be more transparent. Because if you say no and say, and it'll be a no forever until you show up with engineers who can talk numbers and give us facts and figures and reasons, then it's amazing. They show up and they talk, and it's not just their PR mouthpiece. It's people who know stuff. So we're working on that. That's occupying a lot of energy.
Literally.
All time intended.
Yeah.
High power.
Yeah, and I think that's all, I'm very anxious to talk more about you guys with, about the courthouse to figure out, either yours is too big or ours is too small, one of those two.
Yeah.
And nobody believes ours is too small. It's doubling what we currently have.
Yeah.
And basically throwing away 4 things and building one thing that's bigger than those other 4 put together times 2. So, I think we need to probably have some sidebar about jails and things like that, because in the middle of this whole process, we have a jail that's probably worse than any of yours. I'm guessing, or if yours is worse, God bless you. Ours is bad.
I'd say it's close.
It's close, okay.
Yeah.
But, and ours, the courthouse system that we're contemplating building would be adjacent to, almost touching the existing jail. So I'm a commercial real estate guy. I hate the idea of building a gorgeous building sandwiched between 2 really awful buildings. Would love to tear that jail down, and find some other way to make that all happen.
So the new courthouse would be built in that area.
Yeah.
What's that, Lee Street back there? What is it, Lee Street?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I don't know your road.
Yeah, no, I used to work
We used to
and
hang out
I was
in
with,
the area.
I was hanging out with Janelle for a long time. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
on Lee Street. It would be directly, immediately between the
Yeah.
the sheriff's office.
Yep,
and the
I know what
jail.
you're talking about, yeah.
And we'd knock
Yeah.
down that little old dry cleaners that is the evidence locker. It's the only thing worse than our jail.
It's a good location.
The magistrate is in a trailer in the back of that lot. We'd incorporate them in
Yeah.
that building. So definitely want to talk. And I think we're at
Yeah,
80-some thousand square feet, and how we could get by with 80,000. And we have more population that we're serving than you guys do.
It's a great
And they're telling
question.
you need 120,000,
yeah.
something.
It's reduced a little bit, I forgot about that, and that, but it's still a little over 100,000,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, and it might be that we might compare numbers and discover oh, gosh, we forgot to put in the dance hall that you guys have. I don't know what it is.
Cue goes, right?
Indoor swimming pool, that's right.
Pretty whole spot back there for the gymnast.
That's right,
Um,
that's right.
So anyway, yeah, there's lots to learn and talk about.
Mr. I may, but Mr. Burrows, we could talk offline about this. I don't know if the General Assembly has changed since we went through our tactics, but and some supervisors may view it as a mistake now, but like in 2015 or somewhere in that time frame, there was an upgrade proposed, I think, from Remington to Pratt's to Gordonsville. The General Assembly at that time, if you really, your only stronghold was use your comprehensive plan. And we said, okay, you want utilities, stay in here's the corridor.
Yeah.
And we basically said, here's the map, existing easements, that's your corridor. They may have lobbied and changed that since then, I don't know, but that's how we faced it in 2015, 2016.
And they are, the ones that are being proposed would largely stay in those corridors, but they're asking to expand the substations. And that's, I mean, we have, you know, if they go acquire larger corridors, we don't have a lot of capability of stopping that, but we have absolute ability until it's taken away, to stop them from expanding those substations. And right now they want to expand 2 of them. So we're trying to figure out how we can do some horse trading.
Or some zoning.
Yeah.
Goodness, if it was for us, I wouldn't feel so bad, but.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
it's
it-
going right through.
yeah, we import and export 100%. And, you know, I think what we use is not even measurable.
Should be a way to charge a fee for that.
Yeah, throughput. Little
Yeah,
toll.
toll booth up there.
Yeah.
If you want all the government facilities in the county to be operating for free, or
Yeah.
charge something.
What I will say, unrelated to anything we do, but this morning, the news on NVIDIA is, their new, the new chips that they're putting on, new server packages that contain like 1.3 million components, including various chips, et cetera, will do 10 times as much compute power per watt of energy. So if we can, and you know, that's the kind of thing that typically is gonna happen.
Yep.
Maybe we do see reduction in power usage, power demand over time. We just don't know. The window into this is pretty opaque.
Yeah, all right, Chris,
Alright, well, I'm probably facing the same issues there by budget. We've done an in-house pay study. I did a study on water and sewer rates regionally to see where we stand, and we're very low. 3 capital projects coming up at our water plant, so we're queuing those up. And the one fun thing that probably nobody else has experienced is we had a cyber attack that locked the town network under ransomware for the last week.
Wow.
So we've been very old school the last week with basically no computers and whole pain in the ass. So every working document on my desktop, all the computers have been wiped. So they're starting to rebuild everything.
Is it over? Or are you still under ransom?
No, they never even asked for anything. They just said that this, well, we got in and computers were all acting wonky. And then the finance director calls downstairs and said, my computer says we're open, you know, do not contact the FBI. We're open to negotiation. IT guy just pulled the plug on everything. So we've had no communication, hired an encryption specialist to work all through that. I mean, it's been a week. So
You have no idea.
Sorry, you have Bay Corp insurance?
we have cyber insurance through local perimeter.
Okay, so say Bay Corp does have a very good encryption attorney and
Ours was a bit
Yeah.
When do you expect to be out?
Their last thing I was told before I left the office was we should be sort of pretty normally functioning on Monday. They're gonna work through the weekend.
Man, that's too bad. Good luck.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
like
County, I
200
think-
working documents on my desktop, I can't
and I
access
think
anything.
replaced all of their computers. I mean, they had to do, that was what, 3 years ago, something like that.
But it didn't, so luckily it affected, so they hacked in through a VPN connection at Public Works. And connected to admin and into finance, so it did not touch. The police department or water or wastewater plants, thank God. If it had been water and sewer,
Oh,
It's all you
very
need.
bad.
So scary. So I'll need a new name tag, new name tag. Officially ditch the Hale name, but no, we're in same boat as a lot of you. I'm quickly getting up to speed on transmission lines, and we would love to learn any lessons learned from Fauquier or any of the other localities that may have been successful in warding off huge projects.
Just say no and keep saying it. Fight.
Yep, and we're getting our fighting gear on, so just sort of, that's just kicking off and becoming a big topic of discussion. We had the 2A thing last night that we addressed swiftly, thanks to Chairman Nickel. We it's important, but it's sensitive, so there's a good way to do it, and I think we've had the 2A sanctuary. Orange County has been 2A sanctuary since 2019. We had a lot of pressure from the public to reaffirm that, and so we had some discussions amongst us about whether or not to reaffirm something that's still standing. So I think that was more of the discussion than anything else. So we did that last night, and I think that was a good thing, but I'm also glad that that's behind us and we're just moving forward with business that needs to be affirmed for the first time. So
So you were able to avoid it completely.
No,
no, we did not avoid it.
I mean, you didn't act on it, you didn't vote on it.
We did. We voted on a consent
voted?
agenda that it stays. So
it's a
vote not to
consent
do
agenda.
anything.
We put it on the consent agenda, and so we had a 4-0-1, and I abstained because of what Supervisor Coleman said. This was duly enacted and was on the books and existed. We're basically going back. And so now how do I tell anybody for the 500 resolutions in the last 6 years?
That's right.
I'm not gonna reaffirm yours, but you did theirs.
Right.
And so I abstained for that purpose. I read a statement to that effect and said, I took an oath to support the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. By the way, including the First Amendment, which you're all gonna get up here and talk about, talk to us,
Right.
and
It's all redundant.
And-
We've taken the oath.
and
The law is the law.
and because
right?
it's been duly enacted, I didn't feel like it was proper. The proper thing for reaffirmation, if you're thinking about reaffirming something, you should be thinking about in the context of amending it or rescinding it. If you're doing nothing but reaffirming it, that's meaningless. Now, that I want to give all due respect to my colleague who had a lot of folks calling, and I did as well, but I explained my position, and I said at the same time, I fully support my colleagues for taking the vote that they're taking. I just had a different view in terms of the principles of governance and legality. It made no difference. We are no different 2 days ago than we are today. It was, but there were 100 people there and they wanted us to do it. We did it quickly. And then we talked about transmission lines, and most of them were like, wow, that's a little more important than
It ended up
that.
being perfect.
What?
Because we had an audience to really let them know about what's really going on with these
Yeah.
transmission lines. So I think it was I don't even want to call it
So
a
you-
perfect storm, but it was a perfect
Put it on
scenario.
the agenda so people will show up and then talk about what matters, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
Throw a teaser at
Good
that.
tactic.
Your transmission line you're referring to, is that the one that's gonna run from Campbell? to-
Yeah.
yeah, it's 115 miles,
765.
765, which does not exist in the Commonwealth.
What's the height? Cause I've heard. some things.
135 to 160,
Okay, I thought I heard maybe 170. I was just questioning that height. It just,
and they put that out there. This thing is bad. I mean, it is literally the biggest line in the Commonwealth coming all the way through our county and 115 miles through either Louisa, Fluvanna, Goochland, Buckingham, Appomattox, and then down in Campbell.
So it was supposed to terminate all the way up in Fauquier
Right.
They had an option to buy a piece of property for their Yeet substation.
Yeah,
And they got the clear signal from us, we were not gonna approve that substation, and they said, we're still gonna build Yeet, we're just gonna move it down below the county line. So, sorry, you guys.
Right through District 4.
Yes.
Did it make its way? Is it?
But then they came back and said, but now what we want is to
no,
take those electrons from the tip of that and run them through Fauquier on 500 kV lines.
Yeah.
That some already exist and they would like to add more in existing rights of way, in existing substations. But they need to expand substations, so we have another opportunity to say no. So
I didn't know that angle. I've been researching what y'all have done.
give me a call, I'd love to fill you in on.
Yeah, because we need, there's no one on our board, no one in our county that's going, we ought to do this.
Right.
And Joshua Falls, they're doing a substation expansion. So I want to get to Campbell County and knock on some doors and say, deny that.
Yeah,
And that denial shuts the whole thing down.
right.
That was the light bulb that went off on my head about 3 minutes ago when you were talking about that. So field trip, anybody want to go?
We had a-
Campbell County.
We
So
had,
the other thing that might be a tactic is, if we put enough pressure to stop these overhead lines. The HVDC that was just approved, a roughly 200-mile line that goes from Southern Virginia all the way up into Loudoun County. Underground, existing rights of way, because it's DC, it's almost no heat transmission loss. They're more expensive because of the endpoints, but if you run on long enough corridors, it spreads that extra cost out. And there are no land use issues. Nobody would fight an underground line,
Right.
and it's
In existing right of way.
in existing right of way, yeah.
Well,
So
that's a great option. Well, that's something we're talking about as well. I didn't know the nuances of what you just described. I guess I also thought maybe we can get Culpeper County to go no approval for the substation at Yeet. Might have to make a field trip. Oh, we're here. Let's. Well, we can't talk about that right now, but in all seriousness, this will have.
it's the most important regional issue we're dealing with.
It is absolutely, when Second Amendment was important last night, and it was important for our people and our citizens. But this issue literally sucked all the air out of that, and everybody was like, and I talked about it 2 weeks ago, and then I went, after I sort of told everybody why I abstained, I closed on board comment with this and really laid out what this meant, and how significant these impacts are, to a wide swath. And in fact, the reason I'm holding this is in Lake of the Woods, I got one of these. Because our entire community of Lake of the Woods is within a mile of one of their proposed lines. We had a teacher get up
That
and
Kraken loop that would go that?
this is this one. This one,
755.
the 765 goes right by Lake of the Woods. One of the little offshoot alternates.
Oh, okay.
And so the entire which I was like, I'm glad they did that, because they just energized 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing for us collectively in Orange. This is an enormous issue. It really is. It has generations of impact, and none of it which I can figure out is a positive, in spite of the fancy little marketing play they're putting out there. They also, and this is another thing, when we had individual calls with Dominion Energy about these coming out, they promised us that they would have 4-hour open houses or 2-hour open houses. Everything they promise, they back up on.
The open
everything-
houses are simply, they
Right.
spread you out.
Yeah.
There's boards along the wall and you can talk to
Right.
individuals, but there's no
So,
presentation, there's no Q&A.
so
Terrible.
we've invited Dominion Energy to come to our board meeting, and they've accepted on March 24. So
I advise that you tell them, we want engineers, not marketing people.
that's a great
and
idea.
I'd strongly suggest, because that's why I was asking you kind of a sidebar, have you had contact with PJM? Because they're the hierarchy.
Correct.
We were fighting against that utility corridor. Thankfully, we had a citizen that's a high power attorney. Oh, he may have done this pro bono. I'm not saying he'd do it again for you. But they went up to wherever that they
Pennsylvania.
meet.
Yeah.
To talk to them, because ultimately the project's got to go before them. So getting ahead of that earlier, letting them know your position, whether it's for or against. I would
Yeah.
highly recommend that.
And this says, what they sent out says it's subject to PJM's electrical approval.
If you get to it be further or in advance, kind of like we talked about legislative prior,
Yep.
get to them early.
Good idea.
They're gonna know how communities feel about the project well in advance.
Is there any reason we wouldn't want to send a regional? I mean, I think everybody in the room's under the agreement. This is not something. I can tell you it doesn't touch Rappahannock, but this is definitely something Rappahannock would say no to, even though it was our neighbors.
And it does, we reached out because Randigo, I think was the name of the company, a citizen called a tailwing number. Because for like 3 or 4 days, low flying planes, just back and forth from Lake Anna, just past Madison.
They're flying the routes.
And we're like, what are you doing? And we
They
talked to
did-
REC because that's our primary provider of the
Right.
Woodbury Forest Hess Dominion. And it was like, oh, the man said that, maybe they're looking at lines of trim. We're like, there's nothing to trim there. And they were like, well, all right, well, reach out to, so we reached out to PGM, formal letters. And they said no planned activities. They're required to notify you by state code anyway
Right.
of planned projects. So PJM would be my advice to you, whether you're for or against, let them know early.
Okay,
And having a staff member on the calls. I mean, just that they listen, you can put in comments, you can talk, but you also hear the citizens from your community, what they're saying on those calls too. Unfortunately, they're very long, they're like 4 hours, but someone can sit there and.
I've
type
been on
up
some of them
stuff.
that were 7 hours.
Yeah, okay,
PJM
sorry.
calls.
I under.
seriously?
Oh, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
because they're reviewing the.
Oh, they're doing the
advisory.
big
they're building a
network.
big one.
Yeah.
But then that helps with
Yeah.
local to either do a resolution or to do a letter of opposition.
Yeah, so this notice, I got, what's today? The 25th, I think. I got this notice on Monday. And it was mailed on the 12th, allegedly. Well, there are still people who haven't got it, the US mail's in real fast, so. But as soon as people start getting it, it's dated February 12th. What they sent, and so this is very helpful. We are absolutely like everything changed with this, right? I mean, it really did. For our priorities, our concern, this on its face violates our comprehensive plan.
We have, for decades, we've had 2 environmental groups, a PEC that we all have, and then we have Citizens for Fauquier County, CFFC. Their memberships are active. About 10 years ago, the first power line threat came through and a group popped up, totally, self-driven, called Protect Fauquier. And it's all about power lines. They now have membership that exceeds the other 2 in Fauquier County. They have more power, they have more followers, and there have been little splinter groups from Protect Fauquier that have popped up. Prince William did one, Cat lit a little part of, now they're Protect Fauquier, and these other groups are fighting generally, data centers and anything related to them. But power lines get people motivated. And I wouldn't be surprised if we could help you figure out how to launch a Protect Orange.
Right, I appreciate everything. I mean, there is no one on our board that is anything but concerned about this and.
Yeah.
willing
Would it
to
make
do
sense for us
whatever.
to develop a committee that, for those who want to dig deeper into this, do a Zoom call or something like that? Or just voluntarily?
I would think, I mean, this touches everybody in the
Yeah.
room to some degree, so I would think either an agenda item, well, it's 2 months away, right?
Yeah, that actually, with the jail discussion, Supervisor Lee told me at least a month ago, and it was, just in between all the stuff that the activity and conversations you're able to have, so it could be that it would need to be a smaller group.
So if we want to do a smaller group, I'm fine.
That'd be
We
great.
just gotta set up who wants to be on it. And try to coordinate. Is that something you could help with on the coordination? So if you want to participate, let Patrick know.
And I've heard that the 2 main participants are on the executive committee
Yeah.
at Cluster Town, so.
Yep.
Did they that? Yep.
Well, thank you. I was aware, I became aware last night of some of your successes and started doing a little bit of work after our meeting. After we got it out there, and appreciate it. And anybody, any resource you can send us, call Pepper. You know, just deny the substation, Campbell County deny it, the upgrade. No, I mean, these are the kinds of things, like, it's not isolated to Orange. As you said, this impacts everybody through here. And they aren't even really looking at existing right away in the way
All
that they
greenfield for you
should.
guys.
I mean, there's tons of greenfield in here, and it's not ideal, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, can I mention two other things that we did? Just,
I get Supervisor Lee first.
oh, yeah, sorry, I was just gonna stay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian.
All right,
No, I'm just kidding. I'll pass. I think Sam and I,
You're good.
we covered enough yet.
yeah.
Go right ahead. You're
Well,
right.
I just wanted to say we have, we put together a Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, which was. As we've seen some of you all in the region do things with Parks and Recreation. That was a kind of a hole for us. We have a very small Parks and Rec group. We are seeing an increasing need for youth, sports and connectivity between our leagues, our towns, our county, our schools, just broadly, and no sort of, concerted plan. We know we have a need for additional parks. We've seen, again, some of the great work you all have done in instituting some of those. We did open one park in south, near Gordonsville, south, sort of, west part of Orange, southwest part of Orange, and that went over fairly well, but we are very lacking in that category. And then, let's see, tomorrow, Congressman Vinman's gonna be in to give us a grant, much like he did for the town for some of the waterworks. This is a school that'll help us with Gordon Barber Elementary and do some long planned safety upgrades and connectivity upgrades, and it bridges gap. We in Orange have been for some reason, when they came out with the community grants, reluctant to engage there. We got one for some stuff in Booster Park. I just think that we're watching everybody around us, and we're a big zero, meaning $0 and a big zero in the middle, notwithstanding Town of Orange and some of the things that have come here, but for the county, we just weren't doing anything, and we have, like everybody else, Congress, when they're wanting to do these projects, we want to be in the mix. So we've got one coming up tomorrow, a nice announcement. We've got an additional amount of dollars that we put in through Congressman Vinman's office for water and sewer infrastructure, just like we did with the General Assembly in the past, and this year probably not gonna ride through on the budget on that one. However, I think we're taking a view of, let's look at all the different categories, whatever it may be, the grant programs that exist, and take more advantage of them, to help us as we look at projects and to advance them. We're not expecting anybody to pay the whole freight, but, if we can give $1, it's $1 that of less burden on our taxpayers. And that's kind of how I look at it. And I think our board is more open, to that now. And we're looking broadly at some of our needs as we've looked at, some of our budget challenges, as we talked about doing the budget. It doesn't get any easier, any year. And we barely squeaked by last year. We did a small fire and EMS, increase. But this year, we're in a tough place. And so everything helps, and we hope we can have more of these come through Orange, and we'll cheer you on for yours as well. And we've been watching you all collect those big checks, and gosh, it'd be nice to have one here. But I think what we've seen from what you all have done has been a nice inspiration to us. So anyway.
Awesome.
Well, the county's got money. It's been a while. You said money 2 days before the November election in 2018. We
Yeah.
announced that from Dave Brett's office,
Yep,
but then it's been quiet.
yep,
And
it's
then
been a
what
long
I always
time.
tell the naysayers is regardless of your position on applying for grants, all of your constituents are paying for them.
Darn right, darn right. And that's, I think, the view of this board, that we've said, absolutely, we ought to be engaged for these community awards. And I want all of our region to have these awards. I mean, those dollars are ours to put to good use. And I appreciate that. It's been a long dry spell. And we gotta fix that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Is it appropriate we got Miss Yao here as town manager of the town of Madison, so I didn't know if she had a.
Got up at the table and I forget you and I so apologetic.
So we are currently working on our budget also. We're in the middle of a zoning ordinance update for the town. We are probably gonna finalize it hopefully between June and July. And with that, we are going to allow for the first time the accessory dwelling units in the town. There'll be a lot of stipulations and things with it. And of course, they'll still have to meet the zoning ordinance setbacks and everything, but we'll be allowing those for the very first time. And we just started applying for some grants to do a lot of upgrades and things on Main Street. And that's all we have.
Great, thank you very much. Yep. Keep me straight, John.
No, ma'am, I wanna work well. I mean, we're more than just neighbors. We're in the same.
With Rappahannock, for the first time, at least in my tenure, we have a capital improvement plan. I had asked the assistant county administrator, who is Bonnie Jewell, who came from Spotsylvania, and she knows numbers. She's fantastic. She put together a school and county list that is very daunting. But she told everybody, I told her to be brash and, really be bold about it, because we haven't done anything in so many years, and you can tell with our buildings and nothing's getting cheaper. And I'm like, okay, at least put it out there so we can have a conversation, which she did. And it's definitely gotten some attention, but I think in a good way. Our taxes, no doubt, are gonna be going up again because we don't have any type of industry. First Energy, you guys are talking huge poles. We are having issues with First Energy because they're doing an upgrade to poles from Page County over the mountain to Sperryville. And again, transparency, full disclosure, people aren't feeling like they're really getting the full information, but they're not changing. The height of the poles may be changing by like 5 feet. The transmission line itself is not changing, so it's not like they're expecting more power from it. They just know all these poles need to be replaced. And we've been talking with them, and they came in and talked to the citizens in Sperryville. And it's very interesting because some of our citizens have, the easement specifically says the pole has to be down. And this was from, probably 30, 40 years ago. So the debate is, can you change it to metal? And what do they have to do to get that approval? But it's got to go to the FCC and fight that battle. I assume by the time we're done, it's going to be exactly what they said. They're going to, I think, change one thing in the substation. So it's not even that that's changing, but that's the kind of stuff that gets Rappahannock's attention. When we went to the FCC because of CenturyLink and the poor service that we were getting, and they wanted to go to Brightspeed, and the FCC had to prove it. A group of counties met at a VACO conference, and there were 5 counties, I think, from Albemarle to Warren to Rappahannock and a couple others. And Albemarle scheduled it all so that each county spoke one right after the other to the FCC. Really speaking our minds as to why the CenturyLink product was bad enough, and Brightspeed, I've got a friend that called it dull slow. But I really do think when you do back to back like that and showing county after county, basically saying the same messages, but I think that added a lot of value. I mean, they still got the SEC still approved them, but they were very well aware that we had some big concerns about connectivity, so just another thought.
That, to Supervisor Broadus's earlier point, that was one of the local government days and just a standalone meeting. That's some of the benefit of being there with everybody else and be able to have those conversations, as I agree with you about going to see the legislators. If I could, the last thing I wanted to say was the budget amendments that have gone in, water supply funding is in the Senate's budget amendments that is going up to conference committee. Certainly, if you talk to Senator Reeves or anybody else, that would be great. I think it would yield another 30,000 per year for each of the planning units, which again, probably wouldn't cover all of our costs, but would be better than not having that.
Better than what, the 8,000, I think we received, 7,000.
9,200 this year.
That's a work count.
Is that one of these?
It was actually one I didn't print out. It was one of the other ones that got forwarded to you. The additional funding for all the regional commissions did not end up in either of the House or Senate, which we didn't necessarily expect, but again, water supply would be a one-time thing for the next 2 years, with potential after that, but it would be great to get some of that funding. Rather than having to come up to all of you all in 8 years would be the cost of doing this plan, so.
Thank you all for, I know this is longer than we normally do, but it was a meeting full of information, so it's great. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Great. All those in favor say aye.
Alright.
And
I'm assuming the main thing.
Thank you very much.
I did.